What are emotional people waiting for? What are they waiting for? There are common phrases for emotional definition, like waiting for clarity, truth and confrontation, clarity in a wave. There are certain phrases that we say, but a lot of the times we don't quite understand what they mean. Now, emotional people, they have awareness and clarity in a wave. Now, to loosely describe this, let's go up, down, up, down, up, down. And this is symbolic of low, high, a neutral somewhere in the middle. That's the way that emotional people are processing. Now, when an emotional person wakes up in the morning, they can kind of acknowledge where they're at on a spectrum. Are they low? Are they high? Are they neutral? And it's their own internal chemistry that creates that for them. I'm an unemotional person. I do not have a defined solar plexus. I do not create my own emotional chemistry. I'm not a conditioner for emotional chemistry. I'm someone who's meant to be conditioned by emotional chemistry. Now, the majority of the planet has emotional definition, as in there's more people with solar plexus definition than any other authority on the planet. There's a lot of people who are emotionally defined. And you would think that that would create a comfort for these kind of people, but it doesn't. It's still seen as, I wouldn't even say not common. I would say that emotional definition is still seen as highly inconvenient. Most people are looking at emotions as if they're inconvenient. That's why they want to move them, suppress them, like get rid of them, work through them. Like they just want to be done with them so they can go back to whatever. Now, a lot of the times, my students are coming for a little bit more clarity on not only how to work with their emotional definition, but I also have a lot of unemotional students who are looking to either help their clients or people that they're in relationship with who have emotional definition. And it seems to me that there's something very simple to talk about that isn't that obvious to people or isn't that clear, isn't that common to talk about. And so let me share something very important with you. What are they waiting for? Okay. When a person is doing this, right? This is their chemistry all the time if they're emotionally defined. Now, if this is their authority, if your solar plexus is defined, it's going to be the authority. That means that when this person is asked or has an opportunity to decide on something or is waiting for an urge to initiate something, they have to move through a process. And usually that process has something to do with someone else. It has something to do with being in communion with someone. And a lot of the times it's what the decision is about. So, say, for example, you're a non emotional person and you want to be in a relationship with an emotional person. If you're a non emotional person, your processing or your timeline on your authority is going to be quite different. If you're splenic, it's very fast. If you're pure sacral, it's very fast. If it's soundboarding, you need to talk it out. Maybe there's an environment component. There are many different types of authorities, but we all kind of have different times of processing, speeds of processing is maybe a better way to say that. If you are an unemotional person, there's a good chance that your decision making process is faster than someone who has a defined solar plexus. Now, let's say you want to be in a relationship with someone who you know is emotionally defined. You can't really just be like, hey, do you want to be in a relationship and expect an immediate answer? You couldn't even necessarily go up to this person and be like, hi, would you like to go for dinner? And expect necessarily an immediate answer. And so there are a lot of times where you might feel like you're being rejected by someone who's emotional when that's not actually the case. I think a lot of the times people who have low confidence or low self worth, they're very uncomfortable with allowing emotional people to take the full time that they need to come to clarity on something. If you're unemotional and you're asking an emotional person to be with you and they're going, I don't know yet, I'm not sure about that yet. Let me spend some more time with you. It's going to take me a while to decide. I don't know. I don't know. You might be feeling that as like a personal rejection. And if that's the case, it might have you act out in ways that aren't true to you, ways that you don't want to be acting out. Now, the kicker here is if you're acting out in a way that's not cool towards someone who has emotional definition, you're honestly just giving them the clarity that they need. As people are doing this, part of what they're trying to suss out is, are you the right person for me to make that decision with? So let's say a person over here is like, hey, do you want to be in a relationship with me? And this person's like, okay, let me start riding the wave on whether or not I want to be with you over here. Now, when I go low, how do you treat me? When I come up to neutral, how do you treat me? When I'm up in a high, how do you treat me? You know, if this emotional person goes to a high and this person is like obsessed with them, addicted to them, but this person goes to a low and this person is mean to them or punishing them, this is not a good relationship. Like, the person will ride their wave, they'll have multiple experiences, and they'll go, yeah, you don't respect me, you don't know me, you don't recognize me, whatever that is. And that will give that person clarity. Really, what we're doing with emotional, or what emotional people are doing when they say not yet, in many ways they're testing unemotional people to see if they can wait, to see if they can be patient. If you're going to be in a relationship with someone who has emotional definition, you're going to have to learn to wait, and you're going to have to learn to be patient, because clarity takes time. Clarity takes time. Time is an uncomfortable experience to go through. For myself, it's very challenging and uncomfortable to be in relationship with people who are emotionally defined, because as a splenic person, I'm so fast with everything that I do. And I know what I know as soon as I know it, you know? And that's really hard for me to be partnered with people who don't know right away, who need time, who need to process, who need to gain multiple different perspectives, who need to take me on a ride with them through their waves. That requires me to really slow down and let other people have their ride. It's so important to let other people have their ride. And then it's also a very fine line between letting other people have their ride and also making sure that you have your ride and that people are letting you have your ride. As someone who has been raised by emotional people, has consistently dated emotional people, a little tip from my third line lived experience: you'll be shocked how much patience you really need to be in a comfortable relationship with someone who is emotionally defined. And it's a crazy thing for me to realize that, like, slow can be healthy for people. It's okay for people to take a long time to do something. It's okay for people to take a while to reach their clarity. And it's been very honestly uncomfortable for me to realize just how long that process can take. When I'm working with emotional people, it's usually like quite a push, quite a stretch to get these people comfortable to say things like, let me sleep on that. Let me get back to you. Give me a couple of days to respond. Like, emotional people are so used to having to play the immediate game with the rest of us, but even just getting them to advocate for like 48-hour windows to make their decisions honestly feels like you're throwing these people such a lifeline usually. Like, just giving them, even like, my mom's a huge one here. Like, she wants to make her decisions so fast, and if I'm like, mom, you can take 72 hours to decide on that, and that's totally okay. And she's like, what? But I'll miss the thing, like, she doesn't know how to take the time she deserves to take. And then I'm looking at my own relationship. And, I got back together with the manifester, and we were basically together all day, every day, from like now and since May. Like, we've been together non-stop. But I couldn't tell that he actually had clarity in the commitment of our relationship until last month. Like, from May to October, we were together nonstop. And I could tell that he was there with me, but he wasn't totally there. And I didn't know why. And honestly, there wasn't really anything to do about it. In fact, the best thing I did about it, and really the only good thing I did about it, was not push. It's just wait. I know as a projector, it doesn't feel good to force someone to pick you or choose you or invite you. Like, that's gross. And so I'll never force a partner to pick me. So I have to wait, knowing that it will either be totally correct for him when he does it, or he'll say no because it's not correct for him. And that's also a blessing for both of us. Like, for him to just know and to respect what his decision is, that's going to turn out the best for both of us. I know that I wanted to be with him. I didn't know for sure that he wanted to be with me. So I waited. It was totally worth it. As uncomfortable as it was, deeply uncomfortable, it's worth it. I gotta say, as a non-emotional person in relationships with emotional people, patience is like the greatest gift I'll ever give to those people I'm in communion with. Patience, grace, not a lot of pressure. And it's probably going to take me a lifetime of being in relationships to figure out how to get good at this. But I don't know, I'm going to keep trying. What's the point of all this awareness otherwise?